I think that there's probably an element of that, just making sure with Panthera that everything they do is tickety-boo, and the right people have reviewed it and had a look at it before it gets published out into the sort of popular press. So I think that's probably why it's taking so long, because we've been collecting dung samples for years now. He's keeping an eye out. I wonder if he wasn't on the hunt when those impala saw him. I also think that the only reason we are seeing him now is that we got out of the car to look at the sawtooth lovegrass with a microscope, and we disturbed the impala around there, and they ran off into the thicket, and I think they flushed him out of the thicket, and that's why we're seeing him. So indirectly, Senzo found us this leopard today by insisting that we bring the microscope with us. Thank you, Senzo, for that. No, my pleasure. All right, I believe Ralph is still with his hyenas, and I believe he has now got some sound, and so in the next 10 seconds we're going to go across to the great Ralph Kirsten. He's looking very chipper down there in the Mara, and we'll let him tell you about his morning.
Yes, good morning everybody, and welcome aboard the morning safari here in Kenya in the Mara Triangle, and it's an absolute hive of activity here next to the hyena den. You are watching Safari Live. My name is Ralph Kirsten, and on the camera we have Manu. Morning Manu, how's it? Please don't join us on the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter and on the YouTube live chat. We've been sitting here next to this hyena den, and it's a real hive of activity. It seems that these hyenas have killed at least 2 warthog during the night. There's a couple of individual females that look like they've eaten a warthog all on their own. They look like they're ready to pop, but they're all full of blood, and there's the remnants of one of the skulls of the warthog. But there's a lot of dominance hierarchy going on here, and it's obviously all around the food. But as we pan around with different individuals, you're going to see there's bones around, there's blood on their necks, blood on their bodies, and it's really been very entertaining sitting here with them, because even the youngsters have been getting in on the action, taking some of the skulls and running around. There's been laughing and cackling and whooping and all sorts of communication going on here. And I can tell you that the smell is very pungent. It's all right, folks, very exciting. Let's head off to Taylor. She's got something lovely to show you.
Right, look what we've got. We've been sitting with the Angama Pride all morning, and they've made 2 attempts on trying to catch warthogs, failed, but are finally successful. Well done, lovely ladies. Now, of course, we were a little bit on the late side this morning, but we're here nonetheless. For those of you that are sensitive viewers, however, I'm of course very sorry about this, but these lions need to eat. There's very, very hungry lions. I think they've been trying to catch something all night long, and because there's so many of them, it is almost certain that it's going to be a quick death for this warthog. Wow. Very, 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 very cool to see something like this, especially after they've made so many attempts and weren't successful. Good morning, everybody. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is Archie. And well, playing the patience game definitely paid off. But let's have a look now. I can't hear the squeals of the warthog anymore, though there weren't very many. But well done. What we will do is we will try and go all the way around and get a little bit closer. I just wanted to show you very, very quickly from here while the pig was still alive. Oh no, it's still squealing. I don't know if you can hear it. However, it is exceptionally far away. We are sitting on the end of the lens. So like I said, this is the Angama Pride, and this is a live safari. So if you've got any questions for us, remember you can always hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or talk to us via the YouTube chat. Wow. We've been sitting here since about just after 6:30 this morning. They're quite close. They're up on the escarpment. I listened to them roaring all night long. But what I do want to do for all of you is I do want to go the long way around and get you all a better view. So let's do that. As you can see, we're quite far away and there are lots of other vehicles on safari. I just very quickly wanted to jump here to ensure that we got a quick view. Very cool. I'm so excited for the Angamas. This is now the second time I've seen them take something down in 5 months. Perhaps they needed a bit of encouragement. I'm not gonna lie, I was bad-mouthing them, saying that they're not the greatest hunters and that I've only seen them take down a zebra. I was obviously chatting to Archie. So pretty amazing that we were able to experience something like that. Very unfortunate for the warthog. But like I said, if it wasn't for that, these cats would have gone very, very hungry. They're very lean at the moment and they're running low on energy. So even though it's not going to be a particularly big meal for them, at least it's something. I'm just going to concentrate here because there are lots of little dips and things, but we'll get up there now. So impressive when you see something like this. You realize the hard work that goes in a hunt, and you know what they ended up doing? They ended up chasing this warthog down. Those cats moved. They ran at absolute full speed. It was very impressive. I'm just going to jump up ahead here. Hold on, Arch. It might be a bit bumpy. It is going to be bumpy here. There we go. Wait. Let me just roll like that. Now we're going to hope that the car doesn't roll back because we're on a very, very steep slope. We're sitting up on the escarpment, but here we go. A bit of a closer view. Now, there is going to be lots of vocalizations here because there are so many lions and it's not a very big meal. And the last time I saw these cats take down a zebra, they completely devoured it within 2 hours, which was amazing. And that was a big zebra stallion. So this is really just going to be a snack. You can see some of the lionesses are panting. They're exhausted from the dash that they had to do. And we'll be able to hear a little bit, just a few cars coming into the sighting. So you might just hear a bit of rumbling of engines too. Now, have a little listen. You might be able to hear them growling. All trying to get in. Right, now Elle, you were wondering if a warthog is easy prey for lions and hyenas. No, not necessarily. They're very quick animals and they're quite tough as well. They're actually quite brave if you think about it. I mean, I've seen warthogs chasing hyena, cheetah and leopards around, and I'm pretty sure they'll give a young, inexperienced lion a run for their money too, especially the big boars. They can weigh well over 100 kilograms, especially up here in the Mara, and they're armed with razor-sharp tusks. So they're actually quite dangerous and they do cause injuries to predators all the time. And we've seen these lions have made 2 attempts and only on the 3rd attempt have they actually been successful. So it's not easy hunting. It takes a lot of planning, a lot of coordination, and often things don't go the way the lionesses want to, especially with all these youngsters around. You can hear them again. All trying to fight over what little bit of that carcass they can grab. I'm so glad that we managed to get rid of the gremlins, because I was worried that we were going to see all of this and you weren't going to see anything with me, but we've managed to sort it all out. Now, Vicky, you're wondering if the adults will let the younger lions make the sort of the final blows to the animal that they take down. Possibly, however, because it's such a small meal, the youngsters are often close by. With this pride, I've noticed that the little ones come out on a hunt with them. They're getting older now. There are still a few that are only about 6 months or so. They're a bit young. So they do all climb in and start biting, and they will learn the technique. I've only ever seen it once where the adults have actually physically teaching the young lions how to hunt, and that was the Angama pride back down in South Africa, right at Vuyatela Dam, where the lions had first killed a big buffalo cow, and then the calf was left. Later that afternoon, they killed the calf too. But basically what happened is that the lionesses suffocated it, and you could see there was obviously a lack of oxygen, and the windpipe was quite crushed anyways. So this young buffalo calf was weakened, and then the youngsters, the young Puma cubs, came in and were actually trying to jump on its back and practicing what they've obviously been watching, what they practice on one another. And every time that calf would try and stand up and get away, lioness would come in and bring it down again. So yes and no, I just haven't seen it with this pride yet. And I think that honestly they were too hungry. They didn't want to waste any time. They just wanted to jump straight into it and everybody grab a mouthful. Because if you're not quick here, you're not going to get anything at all. This is not a sustainable meal. Look how you can see how lean that lioness is. They're going to have to hunt again, and they might hunt again this evening. I mean, ideally this size of a pride needs to take something down like a zebra, buffalo, even better because they can feed on it for a few days, an eland, which is the largest antelope in the world. So if they can find one of those, that would be a better meal. However, this will just keep them going. It's kind of like just having, I suppose, maybe an apple and a banana and perhaps a little protein bar. But it's not really going to get them through the day, but they did put a lot of effort into that hunt. I can't believe how far they chased that warthog. I mean, typically lions will try and stalk underneath their prey and get as close as they can and dash, 20 to 30 meters and hope to catch their prey. However, they must have run about 150 meters chasing that warthog. Now, ex-Ranger, you said it's easy to lose an ear in a scrum like this. You're spot on with that comment, and that's often how lions get tattered ears, is exactly when they're scrapping over food. And with all these little cubs, they might, get in the way. Luckily, none of the triangle boys are here, otherwise they most likely would have dominated over this kill. And like we saw with the Black Rock Pride the other morning, there wouldn't have been very much, if anything, for them to eat. But at least it looks like each of them are just getting a mouthful here and there. And I think those lionesses, even though they did run a huge distance chasing after that pig, I can't believe how quick those girls were. Incredible. It was almost like they did an ankle tapping technique, just like the cheetah did. They're running, just getting closer and closer, and running uphill as well, not even downhill. So you can imagine how exhausting that must have been, not just for the warthog, but also for the lions. And they were. She sort of tripped it, but then grabbed it by some part of its body and pinned it on the ground, and then started suffocating it. But warthogs are tough creatures, and they often take a long time before they take their last breath. But unfortunately, you've got so many lions. I mean, there should be 4 lionesses here, and like I said, I've only ever counted 13 cubs, but I believe some of you have said there's 14, but I'm not sure if all 14 are still around. So 18 or 17 lions on a female warthog. Wasn't a big one. That's not much of a meal. I mean, if she was lucky, maybe she weighed 60 kilos, if even that. Rock Pride. We watched that male who wasn't having any of it and didn't want anybody to touch the warthog. However, what else happened was once that big male had actually moved off and he'd finished and left just the head of that young warthog, the little lion that was the brave one that kept trying to go in there managed to hold on to it, and the lioness came up to it and then didn't even take it away, which I thought was pretty spectacular. I'm so sorry, I don't know how I'm going to look into the camera because I'm sitting very awkwardly at the moment. I can't really turn my body. We're sitting like this, so it's very difficult, unfortunately, to try and turn back and look at the camera today. and just until we get to flat ground at the moment. Like I said, we've climbed up a very steep embankment, and I'm unable to turn my body like I would like to. I'm even struggling to hold it up and kind of doing exercises as I sit here. But very nice to see. Panting away, lots of eyes. Lots of cars, as you can hear. Then there will be no need for them to split up. Remember, there are only 4 lionesses here. So when you can get them out in the open and in the short grass, you know, then you can sort of count them. But at the moment, it's extremely difficult to try and figure out who's who. But I do see lots of young males. I know the 2 oldest in this pride are definitely boys, and you can actually see a lot of them look like males just with it. Obviously we want everybody to have a turn, and it's not in the most favorable viewing spot. I'm going to send you down to Rolf, who's close to the escarpment, and he's at his favorite spot.
Thanks, Taylor. And it seems like the predators around the area are all after the same type of food, because with the Angamas also eating warthog, well, these hyenas have killed at least 2 warthog. We've identified 2 warthog skulls, and there's the little youngsters now running around with some of the leftovers and the scraps which have been brought back. But the adults are all full of blood, and they are absolutely huge. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's not more warthog that have been killed. Their stomachs look like they've eaten a warthog each. It's incredible, and there's a lot of activity going on now. There's little scraps around, and obviously with there being food, there's a little bit of dominance, and there's calls and whooping and cackling and laughing. And just before we sent you off to Taylor, I was starting to tell you what the smell is like. I don't know if anybody has ever visited an abattoir or been in the back of a butchery where they put a lot of sawdust down, and it does gather up the blood that when animals are hanging. Well, that smell, it's quite strong, and the only reason I'm saying that is because I want to describe what it smells like. And I've been in an abattoir and in the back of a butchery, and for me it reminds me of that. But it's very strong. It's not a rotten carcass smell. It's a fresh meat and blood and organ smell, and so difficult for me to describe it any other way. But that is what is the scene here. That's what we're seeing, and that's why I'm just trying to describe what we're smelling as well. It's like death is all around us, but there's also extreme life going on through that death. So very incredible emotion around what's happening here, I feel. But there was also a very interesting interaction as these adults started returning. There was very clear dominance displays between them, and obviously the food heightens that. Kobe, who is 15, thanks for your question, Kobe. You're asking, what do I enjoy most about hyenas or their behavior? Kobe, there's a few things. Firstly, I love their nature of being able to crush bones and eat basically anything. But sitting next to a den like this, I'm really loving their interaction with each other. It's fascinating. And you can see, because of the time we've spent here now this morning, we can actually notice that the little youngsters who are with their moms are already sort of establishing their role in the hierarchy, which is exactly the same as mom's. So when mom gets a little bit aggressive towards another animal, you can see the baby also goes over, and even if it's an adult, being submissive to the little baby, which is amazing. It's it's really weird for me in a bigger area system to see that, because you wouldn't see that with lions. All the adults would be pretty much above the lions. It wouldn't necessarily matter where the mother is in the hierarchy. But here, with the hyenas, the youngsters sitting exactly on the same level as mom. And there's been bone crunching going all over. And the one little youngster was even biting through the ivory tusks of the warthog. A little youngster. That just goes to show how strong the jaws are of hyena. And they're all covered in blood right up past their necks. The adults. A wonderful morning here next to the hyena den. Lovely to watch. And they've also all, right where that little youngster was now, they've all been anal pasting on a little piece of grass there, which is quite nondescript, but I will point it out as the individuals walk past that little point. Right, let's see, maybe he'll do it. There is a little pasting site just near to where these two youngsters are now, and they've all been going. It's really nondescript. You can almost not see anything there, but when we see them doing it again, we'll show you as they come past, and they all just mark it and then move on. And there's lots of vocalization going on. There's growling and squealing, and now there's a bit of drinking going on, seems there. And there was one little youngster, he was obviously very proud of his warthog skull, because he kept on prancing right through the middle of everybody. Look at that, you see? That is marking with the anal gland on little blades of grass. You see how they straddle it? And then they just press out that little anal gland, and they just put on a dollop of the oil from the gland onto a little blade of grass. Now the little youngster, he was prancing around with his warthog skull. He was very proud of it, loving to show everybody that he's got a skull, but not willing to share with anybody. So it was very entertaining. It's all very interesting. I think the mother that was nursing there was actually subordinate. San Diego, you're wondering if the hyenas can actually eat the tusks of the warthog. San Diego, I would not put it past them. They can digest horn, bone, hooves, and I'm pretty sure that they can also digest teeth. So with that tusks of a warthog just being modified teeth, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think it would be very tasty, but the youngster was chewing mostly at the base of the tusk, so it is quite a lot thinner, and there is a little bit of meat there that it was pulled off on. And I did already see that he had broken off some fine pieces of the tusk and had chewed it and swallowed it. And I've never come across hyena dung. Well, we don't call it dung, we call it scat. Dung is for herbivores, remember that? But so I've never come across hyena scat that has any sign of bone or teeth or horns or hooves. So I'm pretty sure that they will be able to digest it and turn it into that very fine white powder. It obviously does show black when they first defecate after a meal, and then it does turn green, which is very often an indication of the blood, and then it turns later to a very white color, indicating the amount of calcium and bone that they've and they've been eating with all the meat. Because mostly the meat protein is obviously assimilated in a large part into energy, and so the bone and the pure calcium is passed, and that's what you find. There's, see again, a lot of marking going on. Each one also comes past and sniffs it. Now, you see, it's very interesting when hyena put their tail up curled like that. That can also indicate when they are very focused. And there's a little youngster doing it as well, just like mommy. It's just a complete hive of activity here. It's almost, we don't know where to look or where to concentrate our focus. This little youngster obviously really intent on marking that area now. There he goes again. Octoprism, you're wondering if hyenas cross-suckle, or if they allo-suckle, or nurse different cubs. No, it will only be the mother of the actual cub or cubs that will nurse her own cubs. So there's no cross suckling that will go on here, and that's also very much down to the hierarchy. You won't have a different level cub suckling from the mother, which could be either above or below the hierarchy of where the mother of that cub is, and so very political. It's not to be accepted for a subordinate cub to be suckling from a more dominant mother, and vice versa. And they've got little pieces of bone there. Initially, when they came out with one of the skulls, we were actually thinking it might be that of one of their siblings, because it looked, we only saw the snout. And they're chasing each other around with these little bones. So, folks, we're not going to go anywhere. This is very interesting and all very exciting. So, don't worry, we'll be right here when we come back. In the meantime, let's send you on over to Taylor with one of those pachyderms.
We've moved on from the lions. Don't worry, there was no witchcraft involved. Didn't turn the lions into elephants. Just it was a very uncomfortable spot to be, and all the cars are very excited. But look what we found. My favorite animal in the whole wide world.
We're not live. Are we live? Oh, hello everybody. Sorry about that. Are you joking? Are we really live? Ronald is just down there by the dam. I unplugged myself to drive him, which was very silly of me. I'm plugged back in now. Louise, are we really live? I don't know if I believe Senzo. We are live. Oh, you don't have Ronald's picture. I suspect it's because he's not on Gowrie. Can we put him on Gowrie? Ah, dear. Okay, J-Rod is not in the room, so that's not very good. Okay, alright, we'll have to bring him back then. Come on, Ron. That's a bit disappointing. Anyway, but there wasn't a lot for him to see over there. We actually just deployed him because we hadn't deployed him yet. We were hoping to come across an elephant while we're going along and try and pop him sort of in the road as the elephant comes. Very nice that the Mara has joined us. Marvellous things going on there. This is a wonderful picture from Ronald of the vehicle. I'm sad we don't have him. I'm sure we'll be able to sort that out before the end of the drive. It is not easy doing all of these technologies. Anyway, here comes Ron. It's on his way back. I think he'll make it up this bank, Senzel.
Yeah.
You think he will?
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't know.
You can go back.
If I drive him properly, maybe.
Yeah, just try, right?
Alright, here we go. Come on, Ron. Come on, big boy. Oh! Ah! That's it. That's it. Well done, strong fellow. Ronald the Rover, for those of you who don't know, basically you can see now from the picture that you've got, he's got a camera on his front, and he gives us a mongoose eye view, if you like, of the world. And he was put together by the great Russian Alexander Volzhinsky. He had one very dreadful experience one day, and he was kicked over by an elephant into the water. It was a very distressing time for him and for me, and I think this may be a bridge too far. Yes, as Louise says, looks like he might have another distressing incident. A piece of technology, and what's really cool now is that we've got him completely mobile on Jigger, which is the vehicle I'm on now. Senzo, I don't think he's going to make it up. Oh, he's done it. Look at that. What a clever fellow. Right, there he is. Okay. We'll try and get him up and running. It really is quite fun to take him down to the water's edge and see the terrapins come up to see him, and perhaps the old frog, and if we're really lucky, we'll get an elephant there. I'm going to get out of the car and go and fetch Ronald now. While I do that, I'm fascinated to know where the tracks has been following have gone, and so he is going to tell you now.
And you're with us again. I believe pork has been on the menu up in the Mara. Well done, team up there. It's quite amazing stuff. Lions and warthogs, and then potentially hyenas and warthogs. We don't have too much to report to the side. We did a big loop in the block here towards Buffalook boundary. Some green pigeons just took off over there, and we've now come back around again. We've located tracks not far from where we initially went off. We did have some alarm calls of Franklin's in the drainage line over here. We're busy investigating, but it is starting to get quite warm. Potentially, if we do move in here, we will find something. If it is, it'll be lying down, won't be moving, but it's getting quite thick. Rex is just in front of us there. We're just going to move in, but the voices are going to go quite low. So just come with us and let's see what we can find. You know, although I'm quite jealous of what you guys have seen up in the north, and I wasn't there to experience it, being on foot in African bush is probably one of the biggest highlights for me. Walking, the outdoors, tracks all over the place. Yes, we might not be seeing the animals, but the imminent danger that surrounds us all the time keeps us awake, keeps us alive, keeps us in the moment. I'm not thinking about tax returns, I'm not thinking about rent, I'm not thinking about anything other than this moment. My breath, in and out, in and out. It's a very, very centering and grounding experience. If you've never done it before, it's hard to experience. I highly recommend you get on foot in the African bush at some point in your life. Really, really, really highly recommend that. So watch your step down here, a little bit of a downhill. As we come into the drainage line, it gets quite thick, starts to close in on either side, but you can feel the coolness of the drainage line. This is where your leopards and cats would like to spend their time if they could, purely because of the just so much cooler than where we've been out there. You can hear some redback shrikes calling just up on the side here. We apologize if we lose signal. We are in the drainage line and we are on the walking camera, so it's not the greatest signal, but we are doing our best. And if we lose you, I do apologize in advance. It's like a jungle, folks. We were in the jungle looking for the king of the jungle. You can hear those redback shrikes just off on the right. Of calls of the Franklins were coming from about this area. As we know, as James found a leopard earlier, the call birds, animals, it's definitely something to pay attention to. We learn that as when we train guides, you learn them actually we teach them, should I say, to understand the calls of the bush. If you don't understand their laws, you're never going to find anything. Just the contact of the crown chagger there. Drunk man falling down the stairs. Okay, so folks, we are starting to lose signal here. As we continue through the drainage line here, we're taking it very, very slowly, very carefully. I'm going to send you back to James there and see what he's managed to do with the Rover.
Well, I managed to put the Rover back on the car. Louise, can you confirm that we have a picture or not? No. Is J-Rod there? No, not yet. Okay. Because this is quite a nice picture of, you know, the workings of the vehicle that Ronald has. Anyway, we're going up towards Philemon's Dip, which is originally where we thought we might find the lions, but obviously they are not there. And so I'm going to take a stab and drive along Mendoza Road and see if we aren't very lucky there. Also, of course, Mvula was around here. And so we'll see if we're not very lucky. Oh, there's some children playing in the traffic behind us. Ah! Do you want to go to Rover picture, Louise? You are so clever. Yes? My lip sync will be out. Okay, so I will just talk like this. Okay, you can go to Rover picture. So as long as you don't see my lips, it will look like, oh, the time code temperature thing. We'll have to change that. We'll just have to reset it. So I'm not going to look at the Rover because my lips will move at the different time as the sound gets to you because there's a slight delay. I'm not actually talking right now. Now I am. Anyway, Ron is now sitting next to me. We're having a wonderful conversation. He is hoping to find himself an elephant so that we can put him next to that. We will also, if we find a very flat cat pride of lions, we will deploy him there. There are some impala up ahead. Senzo, do you want to try the impala? Senzo is deeply excited by the presence of Ronald the Rover. This is his first experience with him. Alright, let's deploy him with the impala and see what they do. I can't, Louise, unless I reset the thing, and that's gonna take days. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Ronald, of course, unfortunately, if he does have a fault, it's that he is very slow. It'll take him roughly 6 weeks to get to where the impala are now. If they, you know, two or three steps away from him, and they are a good 10 minutes further for him to drive. There we go. Sorry about that time code thing. He just does need to be reset. No, the impala want nothing to do with him. They've turned around and they've moved away, I'm afraid. Sorry about that. I think we must bring Ron back. That was a bit of a fail. Sorry, Ron. Now you can see the vehicle. You might also notice that Senzo has become two people. That's Caitlin. Caitlin, you're on television. Wave. Caitlin is visiting us as an intern for a week. How long are you with us, Caitlin?
A week. Yeah.
A week. So Senzo has just been teaching her the finer arts of bush fashion today. What unfortunately Ronald didn't pick up was the fact that Senzo is wearing some long stockings. There they are. You can see them in the main picture. Absolutely disgusting things. They really are quite foul. We'll put them again, Senzo, please. We'd like to see them. Thank you. They go all the way up over his knees. And Caitlin's I've told her please not to listen to anything he says about fashion, especially here in the bush. Alright, on we go. That was a bit of a fail. I'm sorry about that, everyone. Let us continue to Mandoza Road. There are some elephant tracks. They look to be about 4 decades old, unfortunately. I'm always reminded when I go past here of the very lovely saffron tree on a termite mound just inside this block that Karula used to like. That was her favourite thing. Well, one of her favourite spots. Well, we thought it was one of her favourite spots because she was there quite often. She never told us it was her favourite. Anyway, nice to see her grandson, Thamba, today. Funny little bird flying in front of us. Are you going to stop? Yes, right on top. I think that is one of those beautiful things. But yes, it is. It's the favourite bird of the late Gracie, who, if you don't know, was a young viewer who unfortunately died as a result of cancer. She was 9 years old only, and she used to call the cinnamon-breasted bunting, which is what this bird is, the cinnamon bun bird. So I always remember her when I see this bird. Gosh, I've shared some nostalgic stories with you today. The weavers, Karula, cinnamon bun bird. There's another one as well I seem to remember. Anyway, that's the cinnamon-breasted bunting. And as Louise says, she says, as I drive down memory lane, well, that's exactly what I'm doing, really. We'll hand you back over to Ralph in the Mara, who I'm sure is thinking memories of his 2 kids who are in the Eastern Cape, near to where my parents are.
Thanks, James. Yeah, there's still all sorts happening here, especially with the little youngsters. The adults seem to have laid down and trying to digest a little bit of their massively fat bellies. And look at this little youngster with the bone now, trying to keep it away from the other ones. They all keep trying to come over and have a little bite with him, or her most likely. And you see that at the top part of your screen, you can actually see that little youngster licking the blood off mommy and actually trying to, look at that, pull the hair out because it feels that there's blood on it. Nice and tasty for them. Now, Barbara, you're wondering if hyenas are the animals that most strictly enforce their hierarchy. Barbara, I think they are one of the most strict enforcers of their political system, and that's what makes them so fascinating. You know, with other animals, it is enforced, but not quite as strictly as hyena. I haven't come across a gregarious or sociable animal that even from literally birth the youngsters are brought into this political system and immediately enforce it, even with their siblings, and it can even go to the point where they kill and eat their younger brother or sister. So I think it is very extreme in Hyena, and I challenge anybody to give us information on animals that enforce the hierarchy or the political system stronger than that of the hyena. So I would have to say yes. Like with lions, they have a hierarchy, but it's not as strictly as enforced as that of hyena. And lions a lot more relaxed around that. Everybody can feed at the same carcass, and there can even be a little bit of allo suckling going on, which you don't get that with the hyena. Very organized and very set on their political system. Is it a democracy? I don't think so. I would have to say that it's almost like a kingdom, although it is the queen that comes through here. And remember that the females will have their pecking order, and the lowest ranking female is ranked higher than the highest ranking male. And generally, just for the newer viewers, because we have been chatting about this quite regularly with us coming to the den, generally the females, they will stay with the same family unit their entire life from whence they were born. So they get born into their family and they normally stay right through, quite similar to that of lions. But then the males are the ones that normally push off and go and join another clan, and then in that way they do have quite a mix of the genes. So it's the males that become a little bit nomadic, and you don't generally see males around a den site like this because they're not really involved. They're only there really for passing on their genes to the female, and then she scoffs at him and has no more use for the little bugger. So folks, I think we might stay here a little bit longer and just see what happens, but we might also decide just to move off and have a look at the plains nearby. But while we think about that and decide what our next move is, let's send you on over to Taylor and see if she's made her mind up.
I never make my mind up about anything. I'm the most indecisive person in this camp, but I am going to show you 2 guinea fowl. Hello, guinea fowl. I feel like I see these guinea fowl often. There are a couple that live around here, and every single time I come near this shepherd's tree, there are 2 guinea fowl. But they are very busy at the moment, beaks on the ground, looking for little seeds. If there's the odd insect that's too slow, they'll probably gobble that up too. They must be one of the most impressive birds out here, not by their intelligence though, that's for sure. And I can say that I have first-hand experience in this. Remember, I told you the story about me driving through a puddle and then the water washing down the road, and a group of 4 guinea fowl thought it was a snake for about 10 minutes before they realized that it was water. So in my opinion, that doesn't make you very intelligent. Okay, we'll move on from the birds then. Alright, let's see what else we can find. I don't really have much of a plan. I'm just kind of bumbling. I was looking for that black kukul. Yeah, still a bit foggy. We kind of need a little bit of wind blowed away because I'm over not seeing the blue sky. It's there today. Hopefully the rest of the sun, as it heats up, will try and burn some of it away. It's a bit of a nuisance. I miss the sun. I need all the sun rays. I don't know how people live in the UK or in areas where it's cold and gloomy. I think going from sunny South Africa or sunny Kenya, I'd become horribly depressed. So I shan't be going to live there anytime soon. We'll stay out where the sun is. So yeah, that's it. No, that's what's happened. We obviously spent most of our morning with those lions. I mean, we spent almost 2 hours with them this morning. So it was good watching them. A pity that you guys weren't there with us. And I'm also wondering where those lions are going to go now, because I'm sure they would have finished that carcass, that warthog. And they're either going to head further up the top of that escarpment, which we won't be able to get to rest, or hopefully they'll come a bit further down and come to some of the trees. But it might be fun for this afternoon to see what they get up to. It's a bit nippy as well. I mean, I've still got my scarf on, I've got my big jacket on. This could probably come off. I think I'd probably take everything off and I wouldn't be freezing. Just a bit chilly. Ah, look at all the little fungus that's sprouted out in the elephant dung. Now, Elena, you're wondering if the lioness will ever fight the big male lions in order to try and save the carcass. They will. Often they scrap around carcasses. I've seen lionesses, actually a pride of lions down in the Eastern Cape, and I always talk about my favorite male lion, well, the most beautiful, Mondoro, a big black maned Kalahari lion. The one day, the lionesses, they were on the move in the afternoon, and I followed them, and the male was scent marking, but he was getting distracted. He was quite far behind them, unfortunately. And anyway, they darted off. They saw an opportunity, so they raced, and they caught a warthog. It was quite spectacular. It happened so quickly. We didn't actually see it happen because it's so dense down there in terms of vegetation, down in the Eastern Cape. And then the male came running in and tried to stick his head in, and I'll have to try and find the photo, but I do have a photo floating around somewhere of this male lion just sitting there. He is so upset because the lioness has just refused to let him have an opportunity to feed. So it does happen every now and then. However, when you are a male, you're big and strong and tough, and you can tend to boss the girls around quite a bit. So that's the normal case, but sometimes the lionesses will stand their ground and give the male a run for his money. That's definitely something that happens. It's quite cool to see all the little fungi growing off of the elephant dung. I know Gregory likes to eat mushrooms. Gregory, the female speaks hinge tortoise that lives in camp in South Africa at Djuma, that is a regular visitor. She's a funny girl, that one. It's been nice to watch the relationship grow. I kind of miss her, and the mongoose, and the crazy hornbills that also live in the Djuma camp, the crazy red-billed hornbill. Louise says that Gregory has been visiting every single day. How exciting. Please pet Gregory. Just get 2 scratches, or 2 scratches on top of the head and 1 under the chin for me. She was weird. You could touch her. She didn't mind. She's not scared of people. She'd bite your toes. The next thing you'd feel something nudging against your shoe while you were having breakfast. Gregory. And as probably the time I've seen camp most excited was one day Gregory disappeared for a while. I'll never forget, we're sitting at the breakfast table and Gregory came walking through the gate. Everyone just shouted, "Gregory!" The whole table all at once. It was like this huge reunion. It was very sweet. I hope she appreciated the welcome back. If only everybody would welcome me back like that when I come from leave. Everyone's normally like, oh, peace and quiet's gone now. So yeah, I think those lions have actually gone up to the top. I'm just looking, I can see one vehicle there now, and they also look like they're reversing out, so they may have climbed up onto the rocks where we won't be able to get to. Like I said, we were sitting like this, at such an angle. It was a little bit terrifying, but we made it. We lived to tell this tale. Oh yes, ML, you're wondering if Maurice has had his bath yet? No. Maurice, where are you? Maurice is not allowed to live here anymore. Everybody keeps telling me it looks too cluttered, so we've had to move him. Then Maurice's scarf used to be pink and orange and things like that, but he's very dirty. Maybe you can come swimming today. Do you want to go swimming? It's a teddy, you can't talk. Anyways, we'll just put him here until somebody tells me to take him away. Always pushing the boundaries. So So no, Maurice hasn't been washed yet. I think I might wait until I get back to South Africa. The reason why is because I know my mom will look after Maurice and make sure that he doesn't stay in the water for too long and drown and all these types of things. So yeah, I'll wait till my mother hasn't even met Maurice yet, so you know, it's kind of like, you know, dogs and cats or your pets that have baths, and most of the time they don't enjoy it, or you get the odd one that loves it. So maybe we'll let my mom do the washing of Maurice. Oh, ants! Promise I didn't run over them. I think I gave them a fright. I think they saw the car coming towards them and now they're panicking, but they're on the move. I believe that, well, not I believe, but I was telling you about the Siafu ants, the safari ants that have moved back into camp. These are not them. And I was saying that there's going to be problems, and it seems as though there were problems last night. Steph and his wife and son had to vacate their tent late last night and sleep in the mess tent because their room was completely raided by the Siafu ants. That is not pleasant. I wouldn't want any ants in my tent, and touch wood, I'm only going to say nice things about them, and perhaps strategically place rotting flesh and other things far away to lure them. Hopefully that will lure them. But now they're scattered a bit. They're out on a raiding party looking for termites. They typically eat the harvested termites. I'm just waiting for it to all cross the road before I can go. Oh my goodness, we're going to be here for ages. It's a long line, and I unfortunately can't go any further. But I think the bulk of the raiding party has already moved ahead, and it's still one of my goals to show you Matabele ants raiding a harvested termite nest. It is the most amazing thing I've witnessed. I always talk about it. It was the thing I used to watch the most in Zambia, and I'm sure I have some old videos somewhere. I just need to dig up. Maybe they're in the cloud, and I have some really cool footage of these ants going crazy around harvested termites. And it's quite barbaric though, because they like chop them in half. They've got massive pincers. You don't want to be bitten by one of these, and then they carry them back to their nest. But the ants have also been, I think, thrown off track with all the rain that we've had. Steph was saying he was watching them and they weren't leaving the nest. This is the Siafu ants now. They were just kept on streaming in and building almost mounds, or they changed their entrance slightly. They built a massive mound that they had to climb up to and go in, which is very clever now that there's a gap, because that means that they're not going to get flooded then if their entrance is above ground. And I reckon that they're probably plugging up a lot of places that they maybe didn't need to go in, just to make sure that no areas got flooded either. Very clever creatures, the ants, bees, and a lot of the insects are very intelligent. It's amazing what they can do. Who have we got here? We've got a rufous-naped lark and a sooty chat. The sooty chat, however, has flown away. Here we go, sing your song. I love these little birds. Little rufous-naped lark. Very relaxed, sitting quite close to us, affording us these beautiful close views. You're not going to do a little flap of the wing, and you're balancing on one leg today too. That's impressive. Perhaps it's out early doing yoga. I don't think I could stand on a little rock like that on one foot. I'd probably tip over. It's amazing how they often rest their legs like that though. Very, very cool. I love watching them. Are there any more? No, and some swallows and swifts and martins and all sorts of things flying around at the moment. Some butterflies too. One thing though that I do admire about the rufous-naped larks is that they use everything and anything to perch themselves on top. Like here they've used a mound of rubble that was created when they were fixing the roads. And you can see they will sit on skeletons. So if there's a buffalo skull, that makes a perfect perch too. Up on the tops of small shrubs, and then of course on rocks and anything that just gives them a little bit of height. And most birds will do that. And like we see the topee standing up on mounds, not just surveying but also declaring that this is their area, kind of like a beacon saying, hey, I'm here, this is my land. And that's exactly what the birds have to do too. But they sing. At least they've got a nice voice. What else can we find around here? Quiet. some elephant. Oh, that was quite cool. Let me tell you about that. So when we came down the escarpment this morning, there was a herd of elephants. They were sleeping quite far up in the middle of the road. They were just resting. Everybody was standing completely still for maybe 15-20 minutes. We just sat and we watched them, and eventually one of the bulls woke up. There was two middle-aged bulls with that herd, and then they started moving on. A couple of them threw some sand over themselves, and then they carried on with their day. That was nice to see. I haven't seen elephants having a siesta for a while. We don't normally get to see it, although we actually see it more often in the Sabi sand under the marula trees. Them just standing very still and trying to escape the midday heat. Of course, we don't see the temperatures getting as hot as what they do down in South Africa, thankfully. I'm glad I'm not there, although I think I'm just skipping. When I get back to South Africa, or get back to Djuma at least, I would have just missed the exceptional heat wave. February is the worst time. It's so hot, often exceeding 40 degrees Celsius, or at least high 30 degrees every single day. But I believe it's been quite warm there at the moment. Right, it seems as though Ralph has moved on from the hyena den. I bet he's making his way home. His tummy is probably grumbling. Let's go and see if he's excited for breakfast.
Thanks, Taylor. Yeah, well, it was very interesting and it did make me slightly hungry there next to the hyena. But the smell wasn't ideal. But I hear that Taylor was telling you about those elephants this morning. It was absolutely fascinating. I love seeing animals when they are in deep sleep. And one of the signs that you could tell that the elephants were in deep sleep, that a lot of them, their trunks were lying totally flat on the road. And now it's very similar to what donkeys and horses do, and I've seen this very often in the areas of Botswana, which is it's quite treacherous actually, driving on some of those roads, because you have a lot of cattle and donkeys and goats that frequent the road, so you need to be very careful. But very often you have the donkeys standing in the middle of the road, and you drive up to them and you know that they are fast asleep because their lip is hanging just like that. And so very similar kind of behavior that the elephants were exhibiting. You could see that they were absolutely fast asleep. Now let's have a little look here. Oh, we've got lots of nest building, lots of commotion there in that the old acacia, now Vichilia, looks like a sweet thorn. Acacia or Vichilia robusta, and these look like masked weavers, all going about their business, and the males all showing off their nests. Lots of chattering going on as well. Right into full swing now, the breeding season. So, and it's also very interesting to think that with all the migratory birds coming through here in spring, the cuckoos and the kites and the rest, you've obviously got a much larger population of birds fighting for the same amount of space. So there is a lot more competition around the times when the migratory birds arrive, because you've got a massive explosion in population. And so it does make for interesting sightings of birds and interesting interactions between different species as well. Now remember, you do get a lot of weavers that are not true weavers, like the red-billed buffalo weaver and white-browed sparrow weaver, for instance. And it's because a real weaver, and that's normally to start off the nest, tying two branches together with a piece of grass. And just think how difficult it is to tie a knot with only two fingers, which is basically what they're doing with their bill. And so they tie those two branches together, and then they've got their anchor point, and from then they then start to build the rest of it. And they can build many nests in one season, and the more successful males can generally have 5 6, 7, 8 nests, all filled with females and eggs. And the less experienced or less successful males will be lucky to get one. But there you see his lovely little courtship dance. I'm not sure if he's got a female in there or if he's trying to get one of them to come and have a look at his newly built nest and abode. Perfect for females with eggs and young. And there's the onlookers probably judging them from afar, saying, "Ooh, I like that one, but that one looks like it's got a bit of a dirty doormat. I don't know if I'm going to go and have a look at that one. And he's not very good at his housework, is he? Well, I'll have to wait and see which ones they go and visit and which ones are being successful." Fascinating. And they're very good at hanging upside down as well. Look at that. But there's the little entrance into the chamber, and it goes into a big ball. So now, Deborah, you're wondering, all those spiky things in the tree, who would want to live there? Well, Deborah, it's actually a very good site being chosen, because a lot more protection from all of those thorns. So that's one of the reasons that they would choose to make their nest in a thorn tree such as this, because it can help them stop predators such as snakes who are going to try and slither up the branches and climb into their nest and eat the babies or the eggs. So they're taking every opportunity to try and make it as difficult as possible for predators to either eat them or the eggs or babies. So I think this is an excellent choice of house site for this group of masked weavers. Fabulous. And there's also a little bit of a water line that they're just next to. Very often find weavers doing that, nesting over water. It does also help with predator evasion. Predators find it a little bit more difficult to get up and out over the water, and if there is any chance, the birds can also mob it and knock it off into the water. And so they do work together as a group. It's just lovely. That's always the sound of spring and summer. Okay, everybody, thank you for joining us. Wonderful day. Goodbye to you all, and thanks for coming.